Hello everyone, my name is Marion with DTM Real Talk Channel. It's the channel that you can tune into, have the ability to listen to the thoughts of others about topics all over the world that touch every one of our lives. Everybody goes through basically the same thing. There is nothing new under the sun. So if you're going through, someone else has already been there. Maybe you can find hope. Maybe it's a pathway that can set you on the right road just by tuning in. So DTM Real Talk, just keeping it real. And if you like it, like us at the bottom, subscribe, and let us know just how we helped you. Just keeping it real. Nothing but love. Good evening, good morning, and good night. This is DTM Real Talk, and we're just here keeping it real this evening. And yes, again, I have a special guest. And this is my new brother from another mother, who I have not met from face to face, y'all. But guess what? We just connected like nobody business. And Jimmy, say hi to the good folks out there.
Well, hello, everyone. Hope everybody's blessed today and feeling good.
Yes. Let me tell y'all how we met. We actually haven't met, but we met, if that makes sense. Okay. Y'all know I have a very, very good friend that I talk to every single morning of my life for the past probably 4 years straight. But we've been knowing each other over 30 years, y'all. So we did some business ventures together, reconnected. That's another story. This ain't my thing. This is Jimmy's thing. So anyway, she sees him every morning and they're friends. And they talk about the goodness of the Lord and they share their stories. And she said, you know, I got somebody for you to meet. I said, who? She said, I think he'd be good on DTM Real Talk. I said, okay. She said, because he just wrote a book. I said, oh, bring it on. So that's how we met, y'all. So Jimmy, talk to the good folks. What's the name of your book?
The name of the book is A Glimpse of Pure Heaven That Changed My Life Forever.
Oh, wow. I got to order it. Is it out for pre-order or is it up yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's being edited now and formatted. And so it'll be a couple months or so, hopefully.
Okay, very well. Well, at the end of these clips, we're going to let the good folks know how to get in touch with you so you can put them on a list and you can let them know when it's ready to roll.
That'd be great. That's wonderful.
Okay, we're going to start this story because I heard just a tiny bit, y'all. I'm raising my hand saying tiny bit. I'm talking like 5 minutes, maybe less than that. But anyway, tell the good folks where you're from.
Okay, well, I was born in Madison, Tennessee, and then I grew up in South Carolina in Aiken through high school to my senior year. Between junior and senior year, we moved to Camden, which was DuPont. My father was with DuPont, the Savannah River plant in Aiken, and then Main plant in Camden.
Okay, so very well.
Now I live in Columbia, Lexington.
Siblings?
2 sisters. Two younger sisters. I was the oldest.
Okay.
So, yeah, and my mom and dad. You know, my dad passed a few years ago, but mom's still 92 and doing pretty good.
Wow. Praise the Lord. 92. Sorry to hear about your dad, but 92, that's a right young age, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
And you better not call her old in her presence, right?
No, she's young at heart.
So where is she? Is she with you or is she?
She's in Camden near my sister. She is in a retirement home now. You know, we sold her. It's just too much for her. And so,
very well.
Has good days and not so good days, but overall pretty good.
That's good. 92, that's a good old age because my mom passed away at 83. Wow. And is it 83, 84, which that's the reason why I'm back in New Orleans. One of the reasons that I stayed. Never say never. That's another story. But anyway.
That's right. Never say never.
I learned that lesson the hard way. I said I'd never come back to New Orleans, and you see where I am, right?
Never say never.
Yeah, guard your plans and make him laugh, right?
Right. I love it.
Well, Jimmy, let's talk about a little bit of your childhood. How did that work for you? And maybe a challenge or two that you had coming up and a victory maybe that you had coming up.
Okay. Well, the best way to describe my childhood was the first 5 or 6 years was fantastic. I was one of the happiest kids you'll ever meet. Just loved to play, had woods behind their house and a creek and lots of friends, and Santa Claus was always good to me with everything I asked for, and so I was just a perfect life. I was so happy, and had superhero curtains in my bedroom, and bedspread. So I mean, everything was great. But then as I got older, started school, things started going downhill a little bit. But I will tell you this: from the very beginning, as far back as I can remember, what was most important to me was money.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I loved money to
Okay.
the point that it got me in trouble sometimes, from
Uh-huh.
picking up Coke bottles, sometimes maybe out of the neighbor's garage, and
Uh-huh.
taking them to Mondays. To back then, you could get 3 cents for a 12-ounce Coke bottle, and
Yes.
two of those would get you a Reeves Buttercup, a big one. And so I did a lot of that. And, I think when I came out of I was born, and the doctor smacks you on the behind to get you to breathe and cry, I cried, cha-ching. Like, I'm here to make some
You,
money.
you had money on your brain coming out, huh?
I really believe I did, because that's all I thought about. And I was obsessed with money,
Okay.
unfortunately. And that kind of guided my path for years. But so as childhood, it was good. Then 13, I got into a really dark place in my mind. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I felt. My mom and dad, they had their challenges at times, and that would affect me when they were upset. I didn't like that, of course. And but I began to struggle with authority. I didn't really like school at all,
Mm.
and
Now,
I
this
saw
was like
myself
high
at
school. This was like high school, right?
junior high. I was junior
Junior
high,
high.
seventh grade, when it all really hit, and the Beatles came along, Rolling Stones, and they had straight hair. It was nice and combed down, and look. And I couldn't get mine to do it. My hair was real curly back then, and
Uh-huh.
so I was not happy about that. I was blaming God for giving me, curly hair instead of straight hair, and I had a narrow face and big ears, and I just saw myself as really ugly, and I got in
Mm.
a real funk. And then I had to get braces,
Let me pause you for a second. Tell the good folks out there, I'm hearing you, and I hear this story a lot, that
Uh-huh.
even, as a child, we go through those insecurities, and our parents they're clueless about it, but we go through them. So I'm hearing that. Yeah. So you were about in junior high school going through those types of insecurities, right?
Very much so. Very. And my mom, to her credit, she would come in my bedroom, because I started quit going outside. I would just sit on the bed and in my room and sulk. And, she would come in, put her arm around me and go, Jimmy, please tell me what's wrong. You seem so unhappy. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't know what's wrong with me. I wish I did.
Mm.
I couldn't answer her. And yeah, I was in a really dark place. I just did not like anything about me and how
Mm.
I looked. I wasn't, I was struggling in school, and I was just in depressed,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, but I did, about a year later at 14 in South Carolina, you could get your permit to drive a car, and they also allowed you to operate a motorcycle. And I
Okay.
was able to find a paper route, and needed a motorcycle to deliver. It was, about a 10-mile route. And so my father signed for me. I got a motorcycle, and I was able to drive it to school in ninth grade. And well, that made me more popular, because once you
Hey,
meet people driving a
got that
motorcycle,
confidence, huh?
and then the girls started wanting to, hang around with me and ride the bike, and they ignored me before that. So
Uh-huh.
that helped me come
All
out.
all of a sudden, you got cute, huh?
Yes, the bike did. The bike helped. That's for sure.
All of a sudden, you got cute. Okay.
All of a sudden, they noticed me. That
Yeah.
made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But that, then really, and I was a very shy. I didn't date. I didn't dance. I was scared to death. I was so worried about how people saw me. I wouldn't even
Mm.
dance in public, and I was scared to ask a girl out. Afraid of being rejected.
Mm.
And so finally, when we moved to Camden, I thought to myself, nobody knows me. Nobody knows I've never danced, that I'm scared to death. I'm just going to wing it, and just get out there and dance, and they do whatever they're doing. And
Mm.
I had a great year. I was a new kid in town, senior, playing football. And next thing you know, I'm one of the most popular guys in school, and especially as a senior, and dating very pretty girls, cheerleaders, and
You
that
done
wouldn't
struck
even give me time
gold.
to
You
take
done
an
struck
extra.
gold.
So my life really improved.
Yeah, right, right.
So that was kind of my childhood, into school. And when I finished, I didn't want to go to college. My mom she would say, "You're going to go to college," and I said,
Mhm.
"Nope, I'm not going. I don't want to." And she said, "I'm going to take you to Newberry and leave you." And I said, "Well, I'll beat you home." I just was not going to go to school, and
Uh-huh.
so I got a job at DuPont and started working there.
Right. Okay. And
So
that was was that like the plant you're talking about?
yes, made plans of textiles,
Yeah.
Orline, and Dacron, nylon. We made, and
Okay.
so I was
Okay.
working there. And then I ended up being drafted in the Army, and I
Oh,
went. Yeah, spent three
wonderful.
years in
Let me
that.
pause you. Thank you for serving.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yes. How many
Okay.
years did you do?
3 years.
3. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just telling the guy, not before you, but the one before that, that my brothers in the Army, my uncles on my dad's side were in the Army, and
Mhm.
my uncles on my mom's side were in the Navy.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so a lot of serving to the
There
country.
you go.
Well, thank you
Well,
so much. Yes, yes.
grateful for them and what their service.
So at what point, I'm listening, and at what point did you think you realized that you had experienced such great insecurity and lack of self-worth? Because that's what you described to me.
Right.
So at what point did you realize that's what it was?
Well, I would say late in my teenage years, I recognized that I really had some self-esteem issues and self-worth. I just didn't feel good about myself at all. And but I discovered a self-help book. Can't remember the exact name of it. It was one of the first ones I ever found. And I read it, and it was telling me about how you think and how
Uh-huh.
that affects how you feel about yourself. And it was about developing confidence and stuff. And then it recommended another book called Think and Grow Rich by
Right.
Napoleon Hill. Now, that kind of title had my attention. And
Right.
I went and bought that book immediately. And I started doing self-help, reading self-help books everyone I could get my hands on that began to help me build my confidence and believe in myself,
Mhm.
again. But it didn't really, it helped me, but it helped me come out of that feeling, unworthy and uh, lacking confidence. But it never really helped me find the peace and the joy I was looking for.
Right. Didn't get to the root problem.
It didn't get to the root. No.
There you go. I'm listening.
But,
I'm a good listener now.
yes, you are. But I did have something great happen to me. It was when I was, let's see, right at 19
Okay.
and or 18, I'm sorry. And I bought another motorcycle, and I was riding it before I went to work. I had shift work, and I was like, before work, I was riding it in the woods, and there was a path that you ride off the road and back there. And so to get out, you had to go up sideways up an embankment, or I decided I was going to just go straight up the embankment and get out of there. And of course, it was a county road that you would end up in at the top. But I thought I'd stop in time, and I'd just go out the easy way, and way it would take more courage, because it turns out the embankment was 12 feet high. That's what I was told. But I went the first time around, and when I was going to go up it, I chickened out. And the
Uh,
reason I wanted to do this was because I decided I was going to be a race car driver, because I had a lot of courage and could drive a car good. And so I said, you got to be courageous. My hero, Cale Yarborough, did a lot of things like that, jumping out of planes and
uh,
riding motorcycle stuff. So I said, all right, you got to have courage. I'm going up this embankment. First time I chickened out. So I was really upset with myself. So the next time around, I had myself psyched up, and I go flying up that embankment. When I got to the top, my bike left the ground and flew out across the road. And I came down, and there was a car coming, and I landed right in front of it. And it
Wait,
ran up. Yeah.
it say that again and slow down. It flew.
I came up the embankment, and my bike left the ground 2 feet from the top, according to the highway patrol. And I was airborne. I was way up in there. I was up as high as the top of that car. I
Uh,
had got much speed going. And I was literally like Evel Knievel flying across the road.
uh,
And I was like, uh-oh. And when I came down, I remember trying to push away from the bike. The bike, when he hit it, went under his car, and it just tore it all to pieces, his car and my bike. I fortunately was knocked down the road about 35 feet,
oh my.
all cut up. I had my helmet on because I was very vain about my hair. So
Uh-huh.
that saved me. And so,
Take my life, just save my hair.
yeah, that's right. Don't mess my hair up now.
No messing
So
my hair.
very vain about that. But here's the thing, the guy, he jumped out of his car and he came running over to me. I remember he was standing over me. He was like in shock, and he kept going, "Where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? Where'd you come from?" You know, he was just, I just believe, you're just riding along a county road, man, minding your own business. And the motorcycle comes flying out of the woods in front of you. Would kind of shock anybody, but I didn't even think that through, you know. And so he went running down the street, no cell phones back in those days, and called the ambulance, and they took me in. And when I got to the hospital, they did x-rays because my knee was banged up where the car hit it. And, you know, so I was all cut up and scraped up, and they thought something bad had to be wrong with me to get hit. He was doing 55 miles an hour when I came down right in front of him. So didn't look good, but so they were x-rayed me, and I was on a stretcher, and the highway patrolman came in about that time. And he said, "Son, do you feel like talking for a minute?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir, I think so." And he says, "Okay, well, I only have one question for you." And he leaned in real close to me, looked me dead in the eyes. And he said, "What the hell were you doing out there?" And I said, "I'm not sure. I didn't want to try to tell him what I was thinking." But he said, "Well, your tracks left, the tire tracks left 2 feet from the top. You came down in front of that car, and if you hadn't, you'd have gone off the other side, which was about a 20-foot drop, and probably killed you." Wow. He said, "I've never seen anything like it." I said, "I just don't understand what you were doing." I said, "I'm really not sure either." And he said, "Well, you come see me when you get out of the hospital." And I went in with crutches and all cut up, and he gave me failure to yield right away, saying that hopefully I'd learned my lessons. His boss had told me to give me reckless driving. But what happened was I had met my wife, Debbie, or at the time she was just a friend, and we'd gone one time. And we had a really good time, but she could tell I was a little on the wild side, and it scared her because she just wasn't that way, and she wouldn't go out with me anymore. It had been several months, and I've been trying to get her to go out. She just wouldn't do it, so I'd moved on to dating someone else. But when this accident happened, someone called her and told her that I'd been in an accident. I was in the hospital. She came flying down there to see me, and we started dating, and we were married within a year.
Now tell the good folks how long you've been married, Jimmy.
50 years. This past
March. Lord have mercy. 50 years.
50 years. And man, here's the thing. Now, I always had believed in God, and there were times I'd ask God things, and a girl had hurt me. She had broken up with me to go to Sun Phone Week to date other guys, and she had the same girl that called my wife call me and say she was breaking up with me.
Okay.
She didn't call me. She had this girl call me and said, I said, "Why?" She said, "I want to date other guys, and I don't want to go behind your back." And I said, "Well, that's nice, but it killed me. It just broke my heart, because I was really getting serious with her, thinking about even maybe marrying her, because, I was just at that point where I just felt like I needed something to be married and have somebody pure. And so what happened was, she broke my heart, and I was walking the neighborhood one night, about 2 nights later, and I was just tears just pouring down my cheeks. And I was looked up at the sky, and it was full of stars. And I cried. I said, "God, please help me. Please send me a woman that won't hurt me." And that's Debbie. She's never hurt me.
Wow.
Years. Never has she hurt me. Never she said an ugly word to me. She's never put me down. She's always been supportive, even when I didn't deserve it.
Wow.
Well, he answered awesome. Prayer.
Yeah, he answered your prayer. Yeah, I can tell he answered your prayer, because when I was talking to you on the phone, she was back there just cracking up. She's just cracking up.
She's you.
And she said, "That boy was
she's
great.
A fun lady, good person."
Yeah, she's awesome. I told her she's my sister.
That's right. She says the same about you.
Right, that's right. Well, that's a very interesting story. So let's talk about this money for the last 10 minutes. So how okay, you were engulfed with this money, this sense of money. And yes. So did it take over you, or did you overtake it, or how did you come to what happened?
Okay. It influenced every decision I made from the time I started making money until I had finally surrendered to God 40 years later. So for 40 years, it dominated me. I was in multi-level marketing. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many of those different companies I was with. Finally did build a downline that was over 1,000 people, but I was in trading stocks. I was in starting my own business. I was, whatever you could do to make money, I would do it. Now, I started 2, 3, or 4 different businesses. They all failed. And, but everything was started on the foundation of how much money can I make? I didn't really care what I was doing as long as I could make money. And I didn't really have this desire to give as much value as I did just to get rich.
Right.
And so I was always thinking about how to get rich quick. And that was my driving force, was you got to get rich quick. And I know it's going to happen. One of these days it's going to work. And self-help was telling me, just hold the mountain in mind, in your mind, and write it out as affirmations, get your dream board, do all those things. And I was doing all that. So I just knew it was going to happen. So I just went from one adventure to the next. And I invested money in a distributorship, a fruit bar distributorship, a hydrosonic pump that was supposed to be this very efficient piece of equipment that was 100% efficient and making steam. But it was actually this guy that did this. He was just running a Ponzi scheme, you might say. He knew the product wouldn't work, but he'd made up this stuff from Georgia Tech and engineers, and we all fell for it and lost a whole lot of money on that one. So over 40 years, I just kept losing and losing. The only time I ever made any money was just, when I was store manager with a large grocery chain. That worked out well, but I didn't want to stay with that. I wanted to do my own thing and be rich. So it influenced everything I did.
Right. So you had, I would say, an addiction. Huh?
Yeah, I was addicted. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Addicted.
And the Bible says that it doesn't say money. The root of money is evil. It's the love of money.
And I loved it.
And you loved it. Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting. So at what place, I hear you, at the end, you finally came to the place. So at what point, what made you realize that the money had taken you over versus you taking it over? What made you realize that?
It wasn't that I ever realized it. It was just the fact I couldn't stand myself any longer. I had 2005 was a really bad year. Hurt my wife, and she found out, and that was detrimental to her, and it hurt me, how my behavior, because I had a while, I just like to have fun too, money and fun. That was what I was about. Too reckless with my life. And then I had I was in the stock market, of course, because that's a field day, it's all run by greed and fear. And I borrowed the money, just so certain I could make it, because I'd paid this guy $4,000 to teach me how to trade, and he used to be a professional trader. And he gave me a great strategy. I just couldn't execute. I just didn't have the patience, and because I was trying to get rich, I'd go from one trade to the next without being patient enough to stay in one, or not getting out soon enough and doubling down, which he told me not to do. So I broke all the rules, and so I lost. It was close to 6 figures. And that was just coming to a head at the end of 2005. And then I took my family to the mountains, and I set up everything, but it didn't go well. They sometimes, how they give you a hard time and stuff. And I got real angry, and I had anger issues anyway, road rage and all that. But this weekend I got really mad about some things that were not that big a deal, but I just took everything very personally.
How did your wife, you said something, how did your wife handle the road rage?
Oh, she didn't like it at all. She kept her eyes closed most of the time on trips, had white knuckles holding on to the seat, and she begged me to slow down and not yell and honk the horn and scream and stuff. But I didn't listen.
It was bad. She succumbed to the fear. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was a nightmare, really.
Yeah. Well, I just thank God for you and your transparency, being open and honest, because somebody out there is going through what you've already been through. And they look at you right now. Tell them where you are right now and why.
Okay. Well, I was telling you, I had that meltdown. And when I had the meltdown, my wife, she's sweet as she can be. She packed our suitcase up. It was Sunday morning. We were going to be heading home. And she said, I got the suitcase ready. You ready to take it to the car? And I was so angry. All of a sudden, I just blew up, and rage came out of me. And I kicked the suitcase literally out of her hand to the floor, and just kind of jumped at her like I was going to hurt her. And it just shocked me. I couldn't even believe I did it. So she got her feelings hurt and obviously left the room. And I went out there and got her to come back in, and we apologized and we left. And but the whole way home, didn't say a word. And because I kept thinking, what is wrong with me? I am really, that was pure rage, and I lost control.
Yeah.
And it scared me. It was really, if I'd have had a knife or gun in my hand, I might have used it. It was just,
right.
I mean, I've never done anything
You
like
discovered something that was inside of you that you didn't know was there.
it. Right. Well, I knew anger was there, but I'd always been
you didn't know it was that bad.
That was a demon that came out of me.
I feel you. No. I feel you. A lot of times that God allows certain circumstances to bring us to the place where we can see what we really are.
You're right. And I always thought I could handle my emotions.
Yeah.
But that day showed me I could not. And that was it. And with everything that happened that year and where I was in my brokenness, I finally said, God, I'm done. I'm done with the world. I'm done with self-help. I'm done with anything and everybody on this earth. You got me. I'm all yours, all in. And I don't do anything halfway. I'm always all in if it doesn't even make sense. But this time I said, God, here I am. I'm all yours. I surrender. I give up.
Amen.
Please help me. Please show me what's wrong with me. And that was in November. And then I got a gentle nudge to just in my mind one day. My wife was going out of the country for a family wedding in January. And why don't you come spend a week with me? I rented a cabin. And what happened was the one I wanted, it had a panoramic view, wasn't available.
Okay.
And I was like, well, golly, I'm thinking to myself, God, I'm going to come spend a week with you. And you won't even let me have the cabin I wanted. I was just a fussing. But I took one that was above it. And all I knew was it was cabin 306. I said, I'll take it. And so in January, when the time came, I went up, and the whole way driving up, I came up there. I said, God, I'm coming up to spend this week with you. I'm going to spend it in a silence. It's just me and you, no TV, no talking to the world. My girls were grown. I had 3 daughters, and they were fully grown and married. And so I said, it's just going to be me and you. And
So wait a minute. You rented a cabin.
Yes.
To go spend time with the Lord.
It was the vacation with
you and God.
Yes, that's it. Me and God.
I want to hear what happened with you and the Lord, and the good folks do too. So on that note, y'all, this is DTM Real Talk, and we just doing what? We'll see y'all next week. We just keeping it real.
That's right.
Thanks for watching DTM Real Talk. Be sure to join us for more conversation. And oh yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe while you're there.